Today, we are going to create the Sailing Through Time lap quilt on the Continental M17. The quilt features prairie points and 2.5-inch strips of fabric, making it a great jelly roll project. Our Janome educator has finished this project off with decorative quilting, including A.S.R ruler work and free motion quilting. The links for this project are included in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with all our tips and tricks for your Janome. We begin by creating the prairie points with the 2.5-inch squares of fabric. Fold the square diagonally, wrong sides together. Press with the iron and fold diagonally again to create the prairie point. You will need to create 118 points for this quilt. Select your first 2 fabric strips. Place a prairie point between the 2 strips, right sides together, matching the raw edges. Pin the 3 layers together. Select the Home key. Select the Sewing application mode. Select the Quilting category. Select the Patchwork piecing application. Select the Lock-A-Matic stitch. Select the Dual Feed key. When the Dual Feed key is engaged, you will see the recommend foot change. Attach the straight stitch needle plate. Insert the bobbin that is filled with the complementary sewing thread. Attach the Dual Feed quilt piecing foot, also called the OD foot, to the Dual Feed twin holder. Thread the machine with the sewing thread to match the bobbin. Line up the edge of the fabric with the 90 marking on the needle plate and the guide on the edge of the foot. This will position the start of the stitching, 1/4 inch from the edges of the fabric. Seam the fabrics together, stopping 1/4 inch from the edge. When you have finished the seam, select OK on the screen. This will set the machine up to sew the same lengths. Select your next prairie point and 2.5-inch strip of fabric. Match the raw edges together, pin if needed. Take to the machine to be stitched together. Line the fabric up like we did with the first seam. Start stitching out the seam and the machine will automatically stop after sewing the memorized length. Continue working through until you have 27 rows of 5, 2.5-inch fabric strips, and 4 prairie points in each row. Lining up the raw edges, pin the 2 rows together and take to the sewing machine. Select different size on the machine's screen. This will reset the memorized stitch length. Line up the 2 rows the same way as you did with the strips and stitch the seam in place. Don't forget to lock off at the end. When you have finished the seam, select OK on the screen. This will set the machine up to memorize the new stitch length. Continue stitching the rows together to create the quilt top. Create a quilt sandwich with the stitched quilt top, cotton wadding and chosen backing fabric. Our Janome Educator has used basting spray and safety pins to hold the layers together. Select the sewing category. Select medium for your fabric option and adjust the stitch length to 5 mm. Remove the OD foot and attach the AD foot to the dual feed holder. Baste stitch around all 4 sides. Lock the machine and change to the blue dot bobbin case. Insert the complementary bobbin thread. Remove the dual feed foot and holder. Attach the A.S.R foot holder and ruler work foot. Change to a purple needle and thread the machine with your chosen quilting thread. Select the sewing application mode. Select the quilt category. Select the ruler work application and engage the A.S.R key. Using the quilting template, guide the foot along the edge to create the stitches. The machine will adjust the speed accordingly to how fast or slow you move the fabric. You can adjust the sensitivity in the sewing setting mode under A.S.R sensitivity. Continue working around different areas of the quilt. Use the different templates to create different patterns across the quilt. Remove the ruler work foot and attach the open toe foot. Select the free motion application. Thread the machine with your chosen quilting thread. For this section of the quilt, our Janome Educator is going to free motion pebbles. Pebbles can be sewn at any size and are a great filler to use when stitching around odd shapes. They can be stitched in roughly the same size or can vary in size to fill gaps when needed. Continue free motioning around the quilt, changing thread colors when needed. Continue using a variety of quilting methods to cover the quilt. Once you have completed the quilting, finish by adding a complementary binding. Don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with all our tips and tricks for your Janome.